So just real quick, my name is Omari Salisbury, and it's a good thing that I'm not on the camera. I'm the guy who's just behind. So this is just want to welcome you guys here to this space. Our role here, a lot of you guys might be wondering why here, is they want to be able to live stream this, in an unedited format. And this, we've done a lot of interviews here with the chief of police, the fire chief, and different people. So this is a space in the CHOP that people regularly come to for interviews and things like that. And so we passed out the book. Ms. Jessie here has some of the questions. My understanding is that they're going to make their statement. Ms. Jessie here is going to read some of the questions that have been submitted by some of the journalists here. And then after that, they're going to open it up for some clarifications and things like that. So I would say, because there's a lot of media here, for everybody who talks, before you start, if you could please say and spell your name, and then, of course, who you're with, so they can get properly here. They can properly notate you. All right? So.
My name is Marcus Henderson, Henderson, Black Star Farmers over there on the field. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I'm Miss Jessie Miller, Jesse Miller, Miller, and I am the founding director of the Harriet Tubman Foundation for Safe Passage.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Naudia, Naudia Miller, Miller, but you can just call me Naz. And greetings to all those who are oppressed. Greetings to those in pursuit of the liberation of Black lives. Greetings to our allies in Minneapolis, Paris, Palestine, and across the world. And greetings to the Black House Autonomous Zone. First, I want to thank our ancestors for this moment and take the opportunity to thank the original caretakers of this land who are still here today. The land on which we stand today is the traditional home of the Coast Salish people. This is the traditional home of all the tribes and bands within the Duwamish, Suquamish, Tulalip, and Muckleshoot nations. I stand here in solidarity with our indigenous allies. Black liberation cannot be achieved without justice for indigenous people. Their struggle is our struggle. Again, my name is Naudia, but you can just call me Naz. I was born on the hilltop of Tacoma and raised in Seattle. I am an educator, entrepreneur, queen mother, revolutionary, and the co-director and co-founder of the Harriet Tubman Foundation for Safe Passage. A couple of weeks ago, our foundation launched a survey at CHOP while we hosted a teach-in. The survey was for CHOP protesters. And what we found is that, based on the responses, is that CHOP protesters were looking to volunteer their time and resources to ending systemic racism, starting with an end to police brutality. What we also found is that CHOP protesters were seeking to follow Black voices. So I'm here today to introduce the Black Collective Voice. Today we are reclaiming our narrative. The Black Collective Voice consists of organizers and protesters. We are educators, lawyers, creatives, single parents, business owners, healers, medical professionals, and Capitol Hill residents. We are the people of Seattle. And today we want to be clear. The East Precinct was never the goal of the Black Collective or our allies on the ground at the Capitol Hill organized protest, better known as CHOP. That is a false narrative. We did not choose the East Precinct or Cal Anderson Park as the epicenter of our work. In fact, the Seattle Police Department chose that location when they terrorized protesters on Pine Street and when they tear gassed residents in their homes. Stewarding and protecting the East Precinct only became possible when the Seattle Police Department left that space. What transpired after that was organic. Gardens grew, medical, food, and security aid was provided, allowing us, the Black collective, to meet each other, organize, so that we could grow in this movement. We reject the false narrative that protesting police brutality caused the crime that has always been prevalent at and around Cal Anderson Park. Homelessness, substance abuse, and gun violence are long-standing issues in the area, across our city, and across this nation. Governing bodies have continued to fail at resolving these issues despite clear direction from Black, Indigenous, POC community leaders who are of the communities who are impacted the most. I want to say that again. That governing bodies have continued to fail at resolving these issues despite clear direction from Black and Indigenous POC leaders who represent the communities that are impacted the most. It would appear these institutions are more focused on dismantling this movement and getting back to business as usual. I've experienced firsthand their attempts to dismantle, distract, undermine, and threaten CHOP every step of the way. They've mischaracterized organizers and spun our truth in the media to justify excessive force used by the Seattle Police Department. They've used established figures in our community, in the Black community, to insult and undermine the Black collective voice. The Black collective voice that is growing out of CHOP has grown out of CHOP. We know that these attempts to remove legitimacy from our movement are historical tactics used to destroy the movement for Black liberation. Let it be clear, we will not be bought off. We will not attend meetings where the goal is to buy us off. We are here to dismantle systemic racism. Our shared experience of police brutality and media misrepresentation, instead of generating fear, brought us closer together as a skilled, empowered, and capable community. The truth is, even if they force activists out of CHOP, it will not stop us or this movement. Furthermore, we now stand prepared to mobilize, utilizing our wide variety of skill sets. We have organized to take action through education and collaboration in public areas everywhere. In the words of Seattle's own Bruce Lee, water can flow or it can crash. The Black collective voices choose to flow between spaces connected and refined. Our Black collective voice was born from a long tradition of protest and self-determination on Capitol Hill, and now we are ready for the world. Black collective voice believes that Black lives matter. We know that as Black people continue to acknowledge and step into their greatness despite all odds, this world will be a better place. This is prophecy. The time is now. We represent the fight for equality and human rights, including those of Indigenous peoples, immigrants, LGBTQ+ communities, and the differently abled. We want all demands of the people to be met. Defund the Seattle Police Department by 50% at least. Use those dollars to fund community restorative justice, housing, and healthcare, and release all jailed protesters. Until these demands are met, we will continue to organize and strategize the people. And even after those demands are met, we will stay strategizing as a people. We will continue to exercise our First Amendment right, and we will not be divided. Protesting is a very personal choice, and we recognize that. If the people of Seattle choose to hold space at CHOP, Black Collective Voice will be there to educate and empower everyone. All power to the people. Ready for some questions?
So, they want to know, are you collaborating with other groups?
So we are a collective. We are representing the Black voices and the ally voices in this space. We were looking to collaborate and bring all the voices into the collective.
I'll expand a little bit more. My role in participating in the Black Collective Voice has very much been to further us as a people. So collaborating with the individuals in this space is essential, and collaborating with organizations and other leaders and other resources outside of this space is absolutely a part of our plan. Yes.
How long do you plan to be here?
It's the will of the people. As I mentioned before, if people of Seattle and from across the world choose to continue to hold this space, the Black Collective Voice will continue to use our very wide skill set to educate and empower people in this space. We've already held events, and we have another event coming on Friday, not in this space, but at a different location, because we are like water, and we are not confined to this space. So we will stay here as long as the people want to stay here. Our movement to liberate Black lives is not restricted to one space. And we recognize the importance of this space, and we will continue to build off the relationships that we made in this space.
You spoke of a survey earlier. What were the results of that survey?
Again, the main takeaways from that survey were that also I should state that similar to the demographics of Seattle, our survey response was about 90% white, our white allies. So what we got an overwhelming response was that our white allies wanted to, again, volunteer their time and their resources, and they were also looking for Black leadership, which drove me personally in the direction of collaborating with other Black voices and other POC members in this CHOP community to rally with our allies who wanted to volunteer their time and resources to create this Black collective voice. And so it's called a Black collective voice because we are Black-led, but we recognize how important all of our allies are in this movement. And again, we fight for the rights of all people because we know that it's not just Black people that feel the impacts of systemic racism in this country, and we also know that in order to change systemic racism in this country, we have to first address the issues that directly impact Black people.
You don't like any of the other questions?
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you very much. If
She don't like your questions.
Should we fill a couple? Okay, we'll fill a couple.
So I have to, just since we have you, I hope we're not on live, so you guys should chop it up. I just want you to say the survey, as a person who participated in getting that and reading the data, it was very much that our allies wanted to be educated on racism and how it is being, how they can not be racist. That's pretty much what the fall. What can they do to stop or do to break it and be more knowledgeable of it? And that was, and they wanted to learn from Black people. So that's what I wanted to say. That's a really interesting thing about the CHOP space and talking to people, because I've spent time here, and I guess I'll answer one of those questions. This is, what would you say to the older Black generation about the CHOP situation? I will say just like them, it's not my thing as far as, standing in the front line or spending the night in a tent, but it has woken up the nation. So I would say thank you to the younger generation. That's what I would say to the younger generation. And then I would also say to my older people of color not right now, it's very quiet, but to come down for an educational event, whether it be here or anywhere else. And if you have education, to bring that and share that, because that is what I'm hearing from the survey and from what I'm hearing on the ground. This is, if anyone else tells you, this is pretty much a 90% white place. The people of color you can kind of point out here. But we are very happy to be here sharing the space because we need you, you need us. And to know that we have allies, it wouldn't have happened without both of us working together. So I know that at times, Naudia, who's my daughter as well, can seem a little bit rough. And she went to private school, y'all. She went to private school, Catholic private school. And I'm from the hilltop of Tacoma. So, I try to do better, and this is better. I just want you guys, this is better. This is change. And it's not, again, she felt really hurt that she didn't see people of color here organizing it, and it was just white people helping. And we appreciate you helping because you help in your way, but I want you to know how we helped in our way. Those black people, the people of color who are here, who you do see, have been trying in our best way to organize with nothing. They had nothing, just the seeing that people are out here on their behalf. And so while our counterparts out here, our allies, might have extra funding or different lifestyles, because we do know the disparity here in Washington State, that an African-American family, and these are old statistics, it's been a while, but 40,000 for a family of 4, but 140,000 for a white family of 4. So you understand, we have two different worlds we live in. So while you're able to do those things for us, we're going, we're barely making it, but we're coming here, spending the night trying to make sure that we have some kind of organization so you guys don't blame it all on the black folks.
And I would love to expand on that a little bit, because that is really the driving force behind me, this stern person who was raised in a Catholic school where I was the only student of color from kindergarten to 8th grade. I came out here and saw that my brothers, sisters, aunties, cousins, and uncles were carrying the weight on their shoulders and backs of making this place operate on a day-to-day. And I also want to say that what's beautiful about this collective is that we've all brought our own skill sets, because not any one of us is the same, and not any one of our roles is the same in this. Marcus is a gardener, and so much more than that, but he brought his gifts in gardening to this space. I'm bringing my skills of connecting people together. Like I said, we have educators, lawyers, bartenders, students within this collective. And what's important to know is that to my elders and to the youth and to anybody and everybody who's listening, especially the black community, whatever your gift is, that will help change this issue that we are facing, dismantling systemic racism. Your gift is just as important as that person who wants to hold the front line and chant chants at a militarized police. And so what this Black Collective is truly about is finding those leaders, because every single one of us is a leader, figuring out what their gifts are and what their passions are, and then uplifting them, because, again, we need every single one of us to step up in a way that is within our capacity, because we are dealing with trauma. And not just our own traumas from our lifetime, but generational trauma that's passed down stemming from slavery. I'm going to take this opportunity to say that.
I'm wondering if there's any response to the lawsuit that was filed yesterday. The businesses and residents say they stand with the message that we need to send, that they feel like they've been significantly burdened by the occupation.
First time we've heard of it today, just so you know. First time we've heard of it.
But just in general, what do you say to the residents and businesses who feel like they've really been significantly burdened?
We appreciate your patience. We understand the burden that you have felt and are feeling. Understand that as Black people and Indigenous people and people of color, we feel an intense burden every moment of our lives. that I would say cannot, that the burden of owning a business doesn't compare to the struggles of living in a nation that is built on anti-Black racism and affects every single person in this country. What I will also say is, while we gathered and became a collective in the middle of what could be considered an active war zone, at any time we could have had the police come in here and stop what we were doing while we were having workshop meetings in the middle of that field. We were trying our best as Black people to adjust and make systems better because there were no systems. So actually creating systems out of nothing with people who we've never really even met before. We didn't get to choose who we were working with. We just found other people who looked like us and developed Black leadership, and then partnered up with allies of all creeds and races and backgrounds to create systems. And that's, if you're wondering why today, it's truly been divine timing. Everything has synced up in a way that we just, that our collective was ready to go live yesterday. Our website launched, blackcollectivevoice.org. If you go there, you'll see all of our handles are ready. And that wasn't planned. It was just talented, skilled people who want to end racism coming together in the middle of a war zone to continue to push the movement of liberating Black lives. And it just so happened that they're so good that they did it in, I want to say, maybe 3 or 4 days that they made this happen. And that doesn't take into account the weeks, actually, that our other allies were spending getting things ready so that we could have a true Black collective voice come from this place. So we hear you, business owners. We're doing our best. Again, we are dealing with trauma always. We're all fighting for the same movement, and we're doing our best.
And some crazy things have been coming on down here, too. So go ahead.
If the police or when the police come back to the precinct, what do you think the reaction will be among the people who are still here?
There's so many different people. I couldn't answer that for you, but this is theirs.
And that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.